The prayer and the pledge led by Councilwoman Deidre Ledbetter.
Dear Father, we thank you for everyone gathered here now. Thank you that you know each of us by name and have caused us to walk with you. We say that we are dependent on you and our trust is in you completely. As we surrender ourselves in adoration, we ask that you would come by your Holy Spirit and inspire our hearts today. Come fill our lives with your love. Fill our conversations with your grace and truth. Fill this meeting with your presence. We ask this for your glory and praise. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle,
Here.
Councilmember Natalie Lopez,
Present.
Councilmember Marlon Lewis,
Here.
Councilmember David Broussard,
Here.
Councilmember Deidre Ledbetter,
Here.
Councilmember Sherry Guidry, Councilmember Dustin Swear.
Here.
Thank you. Our first agenda item, first I'll ask you to silence your cell phones. And the first agenda item is public comment. Seeing that we don't have any public comment cards, we will move on to item number 2.
Acceptance of the minutes of the October 17, 2017 meeting as published on October 27, 2017.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Swear and a second by Councilman Lewis. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote your machines. Great, thank y'all. Item 3, persons to address the council. We have none. We will move on to item number 4. Madam Clerk?
Introduction of ordinances to be set for public hearing November 21st, 2017. A, an introduction of budget amendment ordinance number 2017-2018-01, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the city of New Iberia for the year 2017-2018, to transfer funding from fiscal year 2017-2018 to amend budget for salary for police chief, assistant chief, major, and secretary, for transfer of funds for police administration salary until sales tax receipts, and to budget the cost for a storage unit for records and archives.
This is just to introduce the ordinance. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Councilman Swear, second by Councilwoman Ledbetter. And what I'd like to do now is have some explanation. What this is to move the money from the disaster fund, to borrow the money from the disaster fund, to bring on the administration to begin building the police department. The one other thing is to rent a storage building for 1 year, because I need to move those records out of the first floor so that we have a place for people to work and to begin setting up the department. After a year, we'll have when the department goes live, we'll have the building that they occupy in the 911, that space, and there should be enough space that we can make ourselves some storage and get out of the rental business of having those files stored. But I'm going to give you a list. This is why. People have asked me, and I want to have a clear explanation of, the department goes live July 1. Actually, those men have to be prepared and trained by the middle of June, because you cannot flip a switch. We're building a department from the ground up. So I'm going to give you a quick run through of all of the actions that I see to put this department together, so that you know why I feel that it's imperative that we bring on our administration and get the ball rolling. First things is, and this is a partial list, first thing is what the council will do. The council will move the funding to bring on the administrative staff to begin building our NIPD. Many months of work lie ahead to build the department that we can be proud of and the department that we promised our community. You'll have to vote on ratifying the new police chief when I bring a selection to you. You will have to allow me to rent a storage building so I can get the stuff out. We need to take action required to float the bond necessary for the upfront cost of the PD. We need to adopt, once it's in place, and I'll go over that and some other steps, but I want the council to adopt the policy manual once it's finalized so that we are all an active part of this department. We're going to have the council approve the mission statement for the NIPD as well as the first year's goals. I think that we need to be a team to create that department that we all want. What are some of the tasks, okay? We need to rewrite and edit the complete policy manual. Our attorney needs to review it. We're going to coordinate our efforts with our insurance carrier and hire a consultant, of which our insurance carrier, Brown & Brown, is going to be a part of this partnership, so that we go through that policy manual and we know that it is defendable in court. One policy change that makes it defendable will be more than worth the money that we spend and the time we spend to make sure we have the most updated policies. We've got to design the uniforms, the badges, the cars. We've got to obtain the radio frequency from the state. We need a tax ID number before we can be a real department. First thing we need is a chief. We've got to obtain clearance from the state to begin the NIPD, file some paperwork. You know, we have nothing. Pricing the uniform, shopping for the cars, selecting the radios, price to outfit the cars, selecting the CAD system that the officers will use, and then we have to set up training for this CAD system. We've got to select the computer equipment. We got to order the badges, the guns, the body cameras. We need to set up training manuals. These guys have to continuous training. We've got to select the body armor, and we really have to have our people because we need to order that body armor by March. You've got some things like the uniforms, the body armor, and the rain gear that fit individual people. So we need to have our staff in place, or at least know the bulk of them, because these are long delivery items. Everything from designing the letterhead. We've got to make a deal with and source a drug screen contractor. We're in the process of pricing insurances now. We have to draw up contracts for things like the jail, and we have insurance requirements. We got to look at our range expense and the range times and set some policies. We got to negotiate with 911 for our dispatchers. We got to locate a dog. Remember, we're only getting one. We got to evaluate the dog, and then we got to begin our dog training. We have to coordinate with the DA's office, the city court, as well as district court on procedures. We have to do this right. We only got one shot. We have to create our evidence inventory policies, and we got to set up the evidence area. We are beginning to look for grants, okay? In addition to that, we are in the process, I'm going to show you a sample tonight, of creating the job applications. We got to get, once this administration's on board, they have to be trained on all these new policies. We have to run our administration through web-based training. That is going to be one of the biggest things that we are going to use to train our new department. We are going to be in the process of creating the interview questions for each position. We are finalizing the chart, or will be the manning chart. We've got to create the policies for each department concerning all employee day-to-day activities and get those printed. We got to set up vacation and overtime policies. We're definitely going to have to set up a policy for take-home units and come up with a radius. We've got to begin our interview process pretty early because it's at least a 2-month process. Once those men are selected and women are selected, they have to be fitted for their gear. Now, before we fit them for their gear, we have to go through drug screening, background checks prior to them actually being hired. We got to get our dispatchers. Well, our dispatchers for 911, if you hire someone who has not been a dispatcher, it is up to a 3-month training process. If we're lucky to hire some people who were dispatchers, it won't be that. Remember, we work through press, but those people are NIPD employees. We talked to press about maybe we would pay him and he would hire him, but that's not the way it's going to work. And of course, the sheriff's deputies are going to go on their way, so we are going to have to staff that. The money's in the budget, but we're going to have to train those people. We need to create a community policing manual. We've got to do a mission statement that the NIPD works off of. We're setting up for 2 weeks of training, June 18th through the 30th. That is the beginning of their field training, which is a total of a 6-month process, but they've got to come on board and have some of that training before we go live. We've got to clean out the first floor. We've already started on that. We've got to set up our furniture. We're inventorying. I've been to every building. There's been rooms here that I never even knew existed, and I found old furniture. So we're on the process of finding furniture. We'll look at what we have to buy. When the cars arrive, to get them to the radio vendors, to put the cages, to install the lights, to put the decals. I found out that to do 40 cars when the sheriff took over, it took 2.5 months. By the time you run those cars around, we have 60 cars to do. We got to build signage for the building downstairs. We do have a few minor modifications at the check-in window. We got to set up the narcotics and detectives area after the sheriff moves out. We have to create some storage space so we can get out of that rental unit as quick as we can with our records. We got to lay out, I did that today, we got to lay out, started on it. We have to lay out our parking and our site access because we're going to have many more employees here, and parking is a premium. So we're going to have to lay that out so that the cops don't block all of my entrances and my public has good access to a public building. Those are just the beginnings of the type of things that are coming and coming fast. So we need to bring our staff on. I'm going to tell you that as a layman, I know what I know. I'm learning every day. But the smartest man hires people who are smarter than himself. We need to bring on professional law enforcement people to build this department. So as quick as we can, and the plan is to move this money, if you allow it, to borrow it, to let me bring on my administration and rent a storage building. Then the tax money, the bond money, let's talk about the bond money first. The bond money will be available by February. And that lets us complete all of our purchases and put down payments and begin to actually buy things for the department. Our tax money goes into effect in January, and it will begin to collect. We'll probably start seeing some of that money in April, but it's got to build up. So this is kind of a three-part process of how the money's going to come in. I'm trying to be as transparent as I can. We have an ad, was in the Sunday paper, it'll be in the Wednesday paper, the Sunday paper again, and on the website where we are running an advertisement for a chief. Now that we have these applications, it won't be long. I have received at least 20 resumes from officers from many different departments who are interested. Now that we've created the application, I want to start getting those out, and they'll be on the website where people can find them so that people can start turning in their formal civil service application. But these are the steps we're taking. That is why I feel it is necessary to move on this, and that's really everything that I had for item number 9, so I'm not going to need item number 9. I thought that it was best to go over this before we vote on it, so I'm sure you have some questions. Open up the floor. Yes, sir.
Okay, right now we have 525,000 in that fund. How much
sir.
are you talking about taking?
200.
200,000?
200,000.
Now, the list you just gave us on
Yes.
the things. Now, it's not limited to that. If you need something different, you don't have to come back to the council.
Correct.
Okay, that's
Correct.
all. Make sure that
These
you
are
know,
all the steps.
Yeah.
And, we're not moving on money, we're moving on personnel.
Right.
So this lets these people build policies, start operating. The administration will come on, and that wing downstairs is the first thing we're cleaning out and finding desks for and those kind of things to bring those people on. But, and this is not a complete list. This is just, the beginning of the roadmap.
So you think that 200,000 would last long enough until we start getting our funds in?
Yes.
From the
Yes.
bonds? Okay.
Yes. We'll get some bonding money, like I said, by February 1, and then the tax will start coming in April.
And then we'll pay it back?
Yeah, I would like to pay it back from the tax money, not the bond money, because the bond money needs to be used
Right.
for certain things that
Right.
the state says we can. So my view was we would kind of set up a payment plan. As the taxes come in, we have to fund the new department, but we'll just take so much a month and start putting it back in.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Can I have a copy of that list?
you sure can.
Question number 1.
I finished it today, but you sure can. Y'all
It's still
can.
wet.
Yeah, it is.
Can you please email me a copy of that list?
I will.
No, I would like a copy of that list.
Great.
My other question is half statement, half question, because it's all I've heard all weekend,
Okay.
all week. I want the public to understand, because I think that's a big thing they're having a problem with right now, is that they aren't clear as to the fact that we are advertising for a police chief. You and whoever you feel necessary will interview these candidates.
This is
You
my-
will select someone, but the council has to
have to
ratify
ratify.
them. Right,
Certainly.
but I want the public to understand that it's not just a selection by the mayor, that you will select a person and bring them to us to be ratified.
That's exactly right.
And
Just
it-
like all my other department
Right,
heads.
and it is normal procedure that just one person comes. Now,
Yes.
if we are interested in having the copies of the resumes or a list of the people who were interviewed, is that window going to be open for
Yes,
us?
Certainly.
Okay,
What
so
I'm
now they
set-
know that.
This is what I'm setting up, okay? I have a couple of people from the community that I trust, that I wanted to get involved. Like I said, I don't want to do anything in a vacuum or anything by myself. I have asked Patrick Burke. Patrick Burke's a deacon at St. Peter's Church, Vietnam vet, good friend of mine. I asked Patrick, he's got an open mind, a lot of military experience. I said, would you serve on my committee? I asked Doc Thomas if he would serve on my committee. I put Sandra Upton, my assistant, on my committee because she's got, I don't know how many years of civil service experience, but quite a lot. I put the fire chief because he's got 30-something years of civil service. So my idea was to take people that had civil service experience, some people from the community, put a tight group together, put my applications out, and our applications are tight. We need a chief. We have no room to promote someone from within. This is a brand new department that goes online the first day. We have to have somebody who, is ready to run it. So I will bring you from the applications who we select, and then you ratify. Now my plan for further than that, okay, is as the staff starts coming on, then the chief is going to build on that committee, and he is going to add other law enforcement officers to that committee. And I'm going to let the chief be the chief. I'm the mayor. He will build that committee up, and then they will decide where all these officers and applicants land in the chart. In other words, to me, law enforcement people should pick law enforcement people. The one story I heard during the campaign, we had a guy who had 2 years of experience, and he interviewed a guy for a job that had 25, and the guy walked out and said, I'm not working for that guy. So I want to make sure that there are a lot of years of civil service experience and a lot of years of law enforcement experience that place these people in their position. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no, I just wanted to be extra, because I've had a lot of interest in this.
Okay,
And it's
good.
probably because, I work in the criminal justice
Yeah,
field.
yeah, well, it's something new. I mean,
But, and so the public understands that we only have that opportunity with regard to the chief of police. Everything else under him is determined by the chief of police and the mayor, et cetera, et cetera. The council doesn't have any vote when it comes to those type of hires. But if someone is applying for the chief position and someone in the community knows them or has something good to say about them or vice versa or whatever, I want to make it clear that we are open to as
certainly.
much input as we can possibly acquire, because this position is extremely important. And regardless of what the rumors around town are of, oh, it's already been picked and it's this person or it's that person, if you know someone who's applying for this spot and you have good things or bad things to say about them, educate us one way or the other, because we can only help you if you help us. So I just want to put that out there, that we're trying, I know I am, and I hope I'm speaking for everybody, we're trying to be as transparent as possible when it comes to establishing this department, because we want it to be self-serving. I know that's my main thing. I want it to be a self-serving department with people who come to work every day feeling like they don't work for Freddie DeCourt. I want them to feel like they work for the 30,000 residents of the city of New
And that's who
Iberia,
they work
and
for.
that is their
I'm only
boss,
here for a little while.
regardless if half of those 30,000 people are crazy.
That's our people.
Those are. I mean, that's how it is. You're publicly funded. That is what it is.
I
So
agree.
that's my take on it, and I just wanted to put that out there. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it very much. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a statement. I have no law enforcement experience. I have law enforcement family, friends, but I have no law enforcement experience. I have business experience. So going back to what you were just saying earlier about, putting the money back, you're gonna take the money and we're gonna try and get this going. Because in my line of work, if you want to start a business, and anybody wants to start a business, you can't just flip a switch July 1st and you got a business going and just can't start the ground running that way. So I understand. So to me, more not being the fiscally responsible, we're being fiscally responsible, but at the same time we're being fundamentally responsible by doing it this way to get the ball rolling before and ahead of time. I agree with you on that, and so that's what all I have to say about that. Is being fundamentally responsible. We can't just start a department on July 1st and get rolling. We have to make things happen beforehand. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the committee, I heard you call a few names, and you said once that committee is, you kind of pick the committee, right? The hiring committee per se, and then the chief is gonna build that committee?
Yeah, and that's up to the chief. The chief should hire the rest of our department. I gotta
He's
get
gonna
out.
hire up the rest of the department, but he's also
Yes.
gonna build that committee, the hiring committee?
I think that he'll add a few people on as he chooses. In other words, as he comes on, if he's got I'm hearing, and we'll just see. There are officers from that I know already that I'll just speak for the resumes I've gotten from our department, from a bunch of surrounding communities. I mean, all these people have jobs. I don't want to. but from, many departments, it's been kind of surprising to me how many applications we've got. Well, once those people start applying and coming online, and once some hires are made, if the chief feels that he wants to add these other people that have law enforcement experience to that committee, he's welcome to. I'm gonna leave that to him. In other words, we have to let law enforcement build this department. Politically, we need to be out of it because that's not our forte, and we're all don't have law enforcement experience. But what I assume will happen and hope will happen, that more law enforcement people, as they come online, will add to that committee because they're gonna be able to help assess, all of these individuals they'll know their talents, they'll know their training, they'll know, which slot they fit in a whole lot better than any of us.
The reason why I'm asking, because I'm always concerned, serving a minority district, I'm always concerned of diversity, and diversity in leadership, African American per se, and of course we have Asians in our community, as well as Hispanic, and I'm always concerned about diversity. And I know that if the committee is not diverse, it's a possibility that the police force will not be diverse. So I just want to make sure that the chief does not have the autonomy or the power to pick a committee or build a committee just to his liking, if that makes sense.
I understand.
Because the committee to me is very important, even more important than the chief in the hiring process. So we have to be very careful with the power that we give whoever the chief is to build that committee of hiring, because in essence, then he'll be doing the hiring if he builds them the way that he wants them
And that ultimately
to
is,
think, if you will.
I understand, and I do want diversity, and I do understand where you're coming from. That is the responsibility of the chief, though.
Yeah, because I mean, I want the police department to look
And
like
look, y'all are
Iberia.
welcome, and y'all are welcome to. You can't. I mean, the way I would like to see it. Deidre and I had a conversation about that. I would not. I don't want our council serving on the committee. I think
I
that
understand
politically
that.
that's not a good thing. But I tell you this: when those interviews are going on, if you want to sit in on them,
Yeah, I
if
would
you're
like
out at the
to,
school
really.
board, you sit in the back and you just listen. All you're doing is observing. But I think at least you will see. I mean, I got nothing to hide. At least you will see that everybody's getting a chance. It is, is diverse. You can hear the conversations. I don't think that, like I said, we should serve on that. I think we need to back off of that. But, I don't think those interviews are going to all be done in secret.
Right, because of course I'm like Dustin. I've never been in law
Myself.
enforcement, never served, always had respect for law enforcement, but I speak for a whole community,
I understand.
and I feel like I understand their worries, if you will. I understand their worries.
I appreciate that. Anybody? Let's see.
Can I
Everybody
also,
spoke. Hello.
Can I get a copy of that?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna send it to all of y'all. Like I said, I just finished it today, and it is just it's not a complete list, but it's a good story.
So the list that you gave us,
Mhm.
the 200,000 that you're gonna take out of the disaster fund, some of that, so exactly what is that 200,000 you can use for?
That 200,000 is gonna be for my salaries for the upper administration.
For you?
Yes, for my top people or our top people to come on board to build the department.
So-
And I feel like we might make some commitments and say, if we find a vendor and we know we're buying this particular CAD system, let's say. I'm not saying that they won't fill out a purchase order and say, but you're not getting a deposit until the bond money comes. And those kind of things will happen, but that money is to fund the staff, get them down here, rent that storage building. Public Works has volunteered. They're gonna help move those boxes out and move some furniture around this building that I found today, just to kind of begin to get it set up. But the bulk of that money is gonna be for salaries.
Okay, so all the other list of items is pretty much would be counted on, depending on the bond.
Yeah, as the bond money comes in and as the tax money comes in, but there's so much stuff, when you just look at personnel and manuals and all of those things that we have to design and put together, that it's months of man hours. Yes, sir. Jeff?
I just want to clarify something about the committee. I mean, I think they have experience and they have wisdom, but I don't think they have any authority.
They don't, and they won't.
It's not a committee that's given a specific job to report to the mayor or report to the council.
Right.
These are just volunteers who are very helpful and useful people who can assist in the hiring process. But, I don't think we can look for a formal committee process, formal committee meetings and reports and things like that. Ultimately, it's going to be recommendations from, the mayor and from the chief later on, and approval of the chief by this council.
Mhm.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that didn't clarify for me. That just confused me even more.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Jeff.
No.
Unconfusing?
I mean that made it more vague for me. So the committee is going to do what? If they don't have influence on the actual decision, what is the
No,
committee?
they're gonna have
Yeah.
influence.
just
They're gonna be
help me understand.
Okay. They are people with experience and they are people with wisdom who are gonna help in the interview process. And they're gonna have comments, they're gonna have information they're gonna give to the chief, they're gonna give to the mayor. But it's not that the committee's gonna get together and vote and issue a report. And
There's
do
not gonna be any
anything
documentation.
formal. Maybe not.
That's fine. I just want to.
But
I
the
just wanna
chief
be-
is gonna make the decision.
No, I know that the chief's
Right.
gonna make the decision, but when he said there's not gonna be, before I asked this question, he said there's not gonna be any formal committee process. Well, that changes the game for me because formal committee process and informal committee process are two totally different things. And that's what I'm saying. And he's saying there's a possibility there will be no documentation. It's just gonna be just kind of like commentators, saying how well they like the movie.
Okay.
And take it or leave it if you want, and then we're done with that. It's not gonna be
A vote.
it's not gonna be a vote. It's not gonna be, and I want to make it clear for the public, and
That's fine.
so that way
That's-
everyone
that's-
understands.
that's
It's
why
not
there's a
gonna be a
list of 100
vote.
items. That's
It's
what
not
we need
gonna
to
be
do.
like, oh, okay, so Doc Thomas is on the committee, and Natalie's up for interview today, so everybody hurry up and call Doc Thomas so he can vote
No.
for Natalie.
No.
It's gonna just
No,
be a
and
group
we-
of people
Correct. We
that
gotta
are
get the
just
politics
gonna
out of that.
right.
That's
It's
the
just
whole-
gonna be a group of people basically sitting there doing a character adjustment and giving their input as food for thought.
Right, and that input could be really persuasive, it could be, something that's just considered, but it's not gonna be a decision that's gonna be binding on anybody
Okay.
who actually gets to make a vote, to have a vote on it.
And that's fine. I just want it to be
No, that's
clear.
fine. And then once the department's in place, like I said, I'm trying to build what we promised our community and then let it run. Now, I do have the ultimate for a year and a half. If something's wrong, I can fire. And if something's wrong, I'm gonna fire. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just how it is. I have the ability to cull, and if I have to do it, I will. So the kind of safeguard is after we go through all this process and the department's running, if there is an issue or there is a, God forbid, but there's an officer that just doesn't want to buy into community policing, doesn't want to follow our rules, doesn't want to follow, I'm pretty sure the chief would fire him before me, but I'm the safety valve. Basically, if that occurs and we find someone who just doesn't fit the team, then I go stay on the team. I can tell you. Yes, sir.
I want to reflect off of what Ms. Lopez was saying. So we're taking the politics out of policing. That's
That's-
what we're doing. And I think that's a good thing.
Correct.
We
Yeah.
promised the people
And I
We have to have
understand that. But
conversations
when
with
you
everybody.
talk about committees,
Yeah.
Right, it's
It-
not gonna be a.
we
They're
need
not
it
gonna
to be
make the
clear.
vote.
The public needs to understand the exact avenue we're taking when we're doing this, because stuff like that can get really convoluted very fast. And I just said I want it to be clear.
That's fine. Yes, Jeff.
And I don't think we're looking at open meetings, public records, there may or may not be documentation given to the chief, but it's not.
It's like every
not an
other,
official committee.
right, it's like every other department. They just hire, the chief hires in the fire department, Mr. Leroy hires in public work. I mean, it's no different from any other, department.
I got it, but
Yes,
it's
sir.
civil service.
It is civil
Is
service,
that-
just like the fire department.
Is that board gonna change any, since we
That had a spot.
have a new police department? Do they have a spot for them to be part of that civil service?
We
board?
will, yes. That is something that we have some steps to take to do that, but that is something that
Do
will
we add a
happen.
spot, or we have to get someone off the board and replace a spot?
I think right now we have 5.
Yep.
But we have 1 elected from the fire department and none elected from the police department because we don't have one. So they amended the statute to take out that police representative and replace that person with somebody appointed by the mayor.
So you can have 6?
No, what they're gonna have to
We're
do is
gonna
go back
amend
and
it again.
amend that statute again.
Somebody
So we
put
can
back
have a
in the
police-
Somebody get kicked off.
representative. We're gonna have 5.
5, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in layman's terms, somebody's coming on.
Yeah, probably the,
All right.
Well, at some point, and I don't know if they're gonna.
Unless
come off
somebody
now.
resigns, but somebody's gonna
Right.
eventually come off,
Right.
and they're gonna be replaced by somebody who's
Right.
voted upon by the department.
yes.
And it may be when they rotate
And
off.
does that have to be like initial department, or like, you get what I'm saying? Like if the department only has 6 employees, can they pick a person, or are we gonna wait till the department is, half staffed? You get what I'm saying? Because I mean, and I know that's for a whole nother night, but I don't want the representative from the Civil Service Board to be elected from the department when it's
Six
a
people.
fourth of what it's supposed to be.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm gonna put that
But I
out
think
there
we
right now
have time.
today.
Okay. I think we have time to wait on that. So I don't think that'll be a problem.
And you'll have to amend the law. You'll
Yeah,
have
we
to
got
amend
to go
state
through the
law
process
first
and
anyway.
yeah.
I just want to
yeah.
put that out there. While
Yeah, there'll be more than 6 people there when they vote on it. But that's a good point. I mean, you might as well bring it up.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Wonderful.
And we talked about that issue with Bob Lawrence,
Yes.
who's the head of state civil service for the state. He's been down here. Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? We done on discussion? Okay, I'll ask you to please vote your machines. And this moves it on to the next meeting. Great, thank y'all very much. Madam Clerk, item 4B.
Introduction of an ordinance providing for the levy within the city of New Iberia, state of Louisiana, effective January 1st, 2018, of a 0.5% sales and use tax upon the sale at retail, the use, the lease or rental, the consumption, and the storage for use or consumption of tangible personal property, and upon the sale of services in said city, and for the assessment, collection, payment thereof, and the dedication of the proceeds of said tax, and the purpose for which the proceeds of the tax may be expended, said tax having been authorized at a special election held in the city on October 14, 2017.
Again, this is an introduction ordinance, and then it'll come before us again at the next meeting, because it takes 2 meetings. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Swear. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lewis. Do we have any discussion? Great. Please vote your machines. Cool, thank you. And we'll revisit both of these at the next meeting. Item 5, Madam Clerk.
Public hearing on introduction of ordinance number 2017-12, which notice was published on October 27, 2017.
I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open.
Motion by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do I have a second? Council, Mayor Pro Tem Dahl. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Whoa, we got 2 of them. Let's say a motion by Councilwoman Cherry Guidry and a second by Councilwoman Natalie Lopez.
I'll take it.
Okay? We don't have to vote on a public hearing. No, I didn't think so. Great. Item 6, Madam Clerk.
Ordinances, ordinance number 2017-12, authorizing the city of New Iberia to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement for non-emergency mutual aid and assistance with Iberia Parish government.
If you remember, this is the one we've been waiting on, that we can start trading back and forth on work. So do I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Motion by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lewis. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, please vote your machines. Thank you all very much. Good. Now we can start doing some more cooperative things together with the parish. That's awesome. Item number 7, resolutions. Madam Clerk.
Resolution providing for canvassing the returns and declaring the result of the special election held in the city of New Iberia, state of Louisiana, on Saturday, October 14, 2017, to authorize the levy of a sales and use tax therein.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay. All right, Mr. B.
I second it.
I couldn't hear. Who was the motion? Okay. Councilmember Lewis, and it was seconded by Councilwoman Cherry Guidry. Do we have any discussion on this item? Hearing none, please vote your machines. Thank y'all. Madam Clerk.
Resolution supporting the federal historic tax credit program and urging the President of the United States and the United States Congress to continue the federal historic tax credit program.
We'll do a motion in a second, then before we vote, I'll have Paul Allen, who's been helping with this from the beginning, kind of give us a little overview.
Motion to accept.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ledbetter, and a second. Mayor Pro Tem Dahl. Yes, Paul, thank you.
Great. Good evening.
Good evening.
Everyone.
Evening.
I'd love to bring you good news, but I'm going to bring you news, but hopefully we'll make it good one day. The United States Congress has proposed legislation to do away with the National Historic Tax Credit Program, which the state of Louisiana has been a recipient of. As a matter of fact, the state of Louisiana is a leader in historic tax credit preservation. In 2016, Louisiana was the number one, this is good news, out of Louisiana, number one in the nation in the number of historic tax credit projects underway. Since 2002, historic tax credits projects have totaled over $2.3 billion in development costs and created over 39,000 jobs. If you live outside of Louisiana, these credits have also had a huge impact on your state as well. We have already seen tremendous success, but must retain the historic tax credits to continue revitalization of our towns and urban centers. To go on to say, the American Institute of Architects out of Louisiana and out of Washington, D.C., along with the Main Street program out of Washington, D.C., which the city is a member of, have taken positions to support the reintroduction of historic tax credits into the tax reform bill. Presently, I'll give you a little bit of a timeline of where things are. This is from the Main Street America program Jane's quite familiar with. New Iberia is a member of the Main Street program for the state of Louisiana. This letter was from Mr. Patricia Fry, President and CEO of the National Main Street Program. It goes on to say, 2 weeks ago I wrote to you with a call to action urging your members of the Congress to keep the historic tax credits in the tax code. Despite the ardent advocate work of the Main Streeters and the preservationists across the country, the House Tax Reform Bill released yesterday by the House Ways and Means Committee has eliminated the historic tax credits. Yesterday was, in this letter, November 2nd, 2017. We know that the historic tax credits have a proven track record of creating jobs, spurring private investments, and generating fiscal revenues. While the tax reform bill is intended to stimulate economic growth, elimination of federal tax credits undermines the revitalization of older and historic towns and cities. The timeline. Congress will begin debating on this bill next week with a vote expected in mid-November. We also understand the Senate tax reform bill is expected to be released before Thanksgiving. I urge you once again to act now to communicate the value of historic tax credits to your representatives and senators in Congress. Just kind of to let the council know, and you all are quite familiar with the efforts that we've gone through to create a national historic tax district for the city of New Iberia. And that is actually progressing quite well. We hope to know something by mid-December as to a decision on that. But if this National Historic Tax Credit Program goes away, it's kind of for naught. It's nice to have that designation, but you don't get any economic benefits out of it. So it's kind of really an important issue that's in front of everyone. That's why this resolution has come to the council tonight, to get your support. Not only will the loss of historic tax credits have a negative impact on the economic development of the entire state, it would put our treasured historic buildings in danger of demolition and blight. The revitalization of our downtowns will cease momentum, and that's a fact. And so we are kind of at a point to where we've got a lot of excitement moving forward prior to this news to create the momentum to continue the revitalization efforts of the downtown area and attract investors in to be able to reestablish and support the efforts that to occupy those vacant buildings. So anyway, that's kind of it in a nutshell. And I've actually had letters that have been sent to me. I've responded on our AIA website. So I've got Senator Bill Cassidy has responded. If you don't mind, it's not a very long letter, so I'll just read it to you. Sure. It says, "Dear Mr. Allen, thank you for contacting me with your thoughts on opinions on the historic tax credit. The 115th Congress has the responsibility of updating our outdated tax code, and I appreciate your informing me of your priorities. As you know, the historic tax credit encourages the rehabilitation and reuse of historic structures. This tax credit has jointly administered by the National Park Service and the Internal Revenue Service. According to the National Park Service, a 20% income tax credit is available for the rehabilitation of historic income-producing buildings that are determined to be certified historic structures. There is also a 10% tax credit for rehabbing non-historic buildings placed in service before the year of 1936, so long as the building is rehabbed for non-residential use. The historic tax credit was eliminated in the proposed tax plan recently released by the House of Representatives. I fully understand how the historic tax credits has benefited Louisiana in recent years. Please know that I will use my position on the Senate Committee on Finance to continue working with our colleagues on the tax bill that will increase investments and provide tax credits for hardworking people. I will continue to represent the views of the state, and I so thought of hearing from constituents like you. Please continue to reach out either by phone or email. And he goes on to give his email address. And I've also got one from Cassidy, and I'm waiting for a response from our third representative, who is Clay Higgins. So anyway, that's sort of where things are. This resolution, I think, comes at a good time for the council to consider. There's a lot at stake, and anyway, that's the news I'm bringing you.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, no. Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Any questions? Yes.
It's not a question.
Okay.
Should I wait till we're done with
Should I
questions?
state it? As long as it's on this item.
It
It's
is
this
on
item.
this
Well,
exact
then you can knock yourself
item.
out.
I wasn't thinking about anything else. No, I just want to thank you for your interest. You've always, showed interest and given back. I want to thank you for your time, your energy, your efforts. I want to thank Miss Jane for always just staying, since I've been here, and even before I even got on the council, I was looking at opening up a business. She just always just been on top of it, been up to date. She knows what she's talking about. And it's just so nice to have people like that really, they are their jobs. They are. She doesn't come here and just, that's her job. Her job is part of who she really is. And I appreciate that. And I want to say thank you to the people sometimes we forget about. The people like Gordon Dahl, like Scott Bro, like the Matas, all those people that invested in buildings, 10 and 15 years ago and used the tax credit to kind of get it moving down there. That's what got it moving. I can remember getting out of high school and all these buildings are coming up and you're like, where do they get all this money? They're like, oh, they get a tax credit. But then you really look at it and it's like, no, they're really spending a lot of money to get the tax credit. They really are just investing in their community. So it's like, I don't want to forget about those people, and I want anyone who, is on the fence wavering to come and put back into downtown to know that we're going to help you and back you up as much as we can. And I appreciate you reaching out
Thank
to
you.
the state level. I really do, because they, they, in my opinion, they don't get as much correspondence as they should from constituents.
Well, I think,
And I think it makes a bigger impact than we think.
and New Iberia is a wonderful example of taking advantage of these credits and moving the community forward. And Freddie's taken a leadership role on that. And I know everyone else is involved in the level of either occupancy, construction, or otherwise. The credit is actually 36 years old, the federal credit, and Ronald Reagan is the one that created it. So it's not a young credit, and it's done a lot for the nation. And without it, these old buildings, they're so sensitive.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Mhm.
I just have one comment.
Yes.
I just want to second with Councilwoman Lopez said. I enjoy working with Ms. Jane all the time. She does know what she's talking about. Very kind person, easy to get along with, and I commend you, Mr. Paul, and all the hard work that you've put into this as well as along with other residents, because this is my district. I take pride in it, and I'm always interested in making something look nice and clean and preserving history. And so, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Yes, Peter.
I'd like to ask members of our community who are interested in preserving our history with this tax credit and all for people to revitalize those old buildings to contact your congressman. You know, you as a citizen can do that. That goes a long way. So people out there, please contact your representatives and your senators and let them know that we want to keep this historic tax credit, you know, because it's good for our city.
You bring up an excellent point, and the Main Street program has a series of some questionnaires that you can actually, maybe the city would want to have them published.
Yeah,
It's very knowledgeable information. Well, you know, Jane and I will work through that and get that information to you all, or to the general public, so. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there any designation, historic designation and tax credit incentives for the West End community? Like per se Anderson Street, Hopkins Street? They don't have a whole lot of buildings over there anymore.
No, but they got some nice
architecture.
architecture.
They got some nice
They
architecture.
really do.
So,
I mean,
you know-
each part of the city has some interesting architecture. And, you know, the shotgun houses on Mississippi, the whole Hopkins Street area has a different feeling, and it's a wonderful feeling because it kind of displays a time and period when the architecture and the buildings became alive. And I know, you know, that's what's the key here, is trying to incentivize areas to bring that culture back. And that's what this architecture and these credits do. It allows for blighted old buildings that are not in compliance with code to have the opportunities to attract investors to come back and find adaptive reuses of these buildings, and for young entrepreneurs who want to start buildings to give them a place to work out of. So, you know, the cultural districts need to be created for your state tax credits. The Main Street District has that, and perhaps it's not a bad idea to consider Hopkins as a potential district in the future, because you can create those cultural districts.
We have one. It is. Hopkins Street is a cultural district.
That's right. That's
Well-
kind of was a question, kind of like a
It is
question.
one.
Yeah.
Well, then you should be
That was a question.
eligible for your state tax credits.
Yes.
Now, the
Yeah.
federal tax credits is another animal in
Animal.
itself.
Gotcha.
But it doesn't mean that it's not worthy of being considered. And when we sat down with Jessica Richardson with the state agency who helped create this district with us, she always had in mind that perhaps the district could be expanded. So the first step was to try to create the district and then have consideration for expansion in the future.
Right. Because
Absolutely.
beyond Hopkins Street is nice, but really the the heart of African American business was actually like Anderson Street area, and a lot of people don't talk about that much. That was really the heart of our, you know, because back in the day the Hopkins Street area was kind of mixed, and it was more predominantly white. The Hopkins Street, I'm talking about before my time.
Right,
You know, when I was
right.
coming up, it was mostly nightclubs and stuff. But I'm talking about businessmen like Mr. Harry Dolphin and all those men who had stores and brought commerce to our community. You know, no disrespect to the nightclubs, but
No, I understand.
but
Mr. Donovan, who did a report for
yeah.
out of Washington D.C., came through New Iberia, spent some time with us, and wrote this beautiful report that helped the state tax credit.
'Cause I
He
get
actually
these questions.
took some road trips on side trips, and he noticed some of the communities outside of the Main Street area that he thought were quite charming and worthy of consideration. So it's just let's get this done,
Yep.
and then we'll work on that.
That's right.
I'm supporting you. I just want to keep that momentum
I
rolling
think
for the
we
West
should.
End community.
I mean, I think the mayor
We agree.
has probably some ideas about that level of consideration and growth for the future.
Yep. Paul, I can't thank you enough. I mean, we started work on this in January with myself and Jane and you, and I've watched you put a whole lot of time into it as Jane, and can't thank you enough. We just got to keep pushing. That's all we can do. Thank you.
Right, thank you all so much.
All right, let's send the 115th Congress and President Trump a message. Please vote your machines. Thank you very much. You know, how often we get to do that? Cool, Madam Clerk. Item 7C.
Resolution accepting and approving bids for the purchase of sewage pumps.
All right. Vince, do you,
Tell Vince to get up there.
do I have a
Motion.
motion?
I gotta say.
Okay, a motion by Councilwoman Deidre Ledbetter, and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Dahl. Mr. Vince,
Come here, Mr. Vince.
approach.
I'll fill in for the finance department. This is the sixth or the annual bid list that the finance department puts out. This is part of it. The bid spec for these sewer pumps had specific requirements in it. Two of those requirements were that the pumps were made and manufactured in the United States. Another requirement was that if you wanted to submit a pump that was an approved equal, you had to submit certain documentation. Well, we couldn't get a review of that documentation on the last agenda. There was just too much to go through. So we needed a couple of more weeks to go through it. We went through that documentation. This particular pump that a guy was submitting as an approved equal, we rejected. The pumps were made in Mexico and assembled in Mexico, which was the first strike, and not enough information was provided for us to be able to approve it as an equal. Although they were very much more inexpensive, we were very wary of accepting that as an equal. We told the vendor we need to start much earlier in advance next year if he wishes to get that information in, and we can definitely look at it as an approved equal next year. So that's what you have before you.
It seemed like still that Power Specialties was way cheaper than most of the other bid.
Yes, we
I
did
mean-
accept some of those vendors' other pump
Okay,
brands.
because some of the bids, Power Specialties did not bid, right?
Correct.
So what happened to that process of the next bidder? Do they get awarded the bid? Right here in this resolution.
Yes,
it's
the
only
next
for
low
Power.
bidder, the next
Yeah.
low bidder would be awarded.
Yeah, where he
right?
didn't bid, then the other.
But why
They-
are they so much less expensive than the other bidders?
You'd have to call them up and
I don't
ask
know,
them.
but-
Gee, so the ones
Thank
that
God they are.
So the ones that they did not bid, no one bid except this expensive fluid process. I don't, whoever they are.
Correct.
I mean, they're a lot.
They are. It's a very good pump, but I hate to say in the pump business you get what you pay for. Part of that problem is that those pumps are represented by regional vendors. So this fluid process is going to take care of this part of the country. Don't let that alarm you though. Rachel puts this bid package out nationally. So really anybody can do it, but the pump manufacturers require their pumps to be marketed regionally.
But we only approving Power Specialties.
No, you're approving everything on that bid list.
All
Okay,
of them, in
now-
other words, they fill in.
Okay,
With
but
the
right here, on this
exception-
one right here.
With the exception of the Bar Mesa pumps.
Okay, but on this resolution, it doesn't have nobody but, oh, I see fluid.
Yeah, look,
Okay,
fluid
now,
goes
what
big.
happens, we're not saying how many we buying yet, because we don't know, right?
Absolutely.
It's as needed.
Correct.
basis.
Correct.
So, how does that work? Say if you need 6 pumps throughout the year or 15, that just comes out your budget? We're just
Absolutely.
approving you to do this?
Yeah.
Correct.
We approve the
Okay.
vendor.
So
Okay.
what
Get it
happens,
lined
what
up.
happens is I don't have to jump through this hoop
Right, I
every
understand.
time I need to buy a pump
Okay.
because it's over $5,000.
Well, I was just wondering, it's so many, there's not many people bid, because I guess it can't meet the specs of the pumps that we need, right? But the ones that does bid, they're just so different to the one that we're accepting.
Correct.
You know, wow.
Yeah,
Maybe
there was
one's
big
an up and
difference.
comer.
But it's a good
No.
thing. I mean, this
Yeah,
Bar
that's a
Mesa
good
pump,
thing.
No, it is, I was
it's
just wondering.
Saves
it's
them money.
competitively bid contracts, right? And that's the beauty of it.
That's the
So-
point. That's the point of a bid.
I see you said we
competitively
do
bid.
this pretty much every year
We do.
with you. Do you find in the last year or two, you have to buy and replace more pumps than you did the prior year?
No.
Not really?
No.
Okay.
It's as needed, and
Okay.
you know we have a preventive maintenance schedule where we change out old pumps or rebuild them, whatever. But
Okay.
we
Thank you.
just get everything nipped in the
I'm
bud.
big into the bid thing, I like
Hey,
that.
that's what.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing.
Okay.
We got questions. Councilwoman Gidry.
I like what you said, that every year y'all have a maintenance program on your pumps. Now, whichever bid you go with, is it Power, what is it, Power Specialties?
On certain brands, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they're promising to to be manufactured and assembled? In other words, they're gonna come and assemble that for us, or?
No, it's the place of origin where the pumps are
Oh, they're
manufactured.
actually
Right.
manufactured, okay, I gotcha, okay. And we have warranty on all these
Oh,
pumps every
absolutely.
time we buy them?
Full-
What's the length of the warranty on these pumps?
Typically, new pumps are a year.
1 year
Yeah,
warranty?
Typically, right,
Okay.
right.
All right.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
I noticed I'm familiar with a lot of this stuff, so what are you, like,
Yeah,
some are
like-
1.25 inch, some are 2 inch discharge. What are you pumping with those submersible pumps? Like just some tanks or?
No, they're sewer pumps. We have
Downhole?
76 pump stations.
Okay.
The way the collection system works from the outer parts of the city limits,
Right.
you start kind of high and then you gravity flow low.
Okay.
You might get down to an 8-foot elevation, you pump it up again and you gravity flow low and you gravity. So
Right.
they're lift stations to get the sewer back to the sewer plants.
And you were saying Bar Mesa, being that it's made in the USA, that's,
It's not.
It's made in
It's not.
It did
Mexico?
not meet that requirement, correct.
Oh,
so it doesn't meet the,
Mexico, right?
Correct.
okay.
It's not, it didn't meet that spec of made and assembled in the United States, and we
Okay.
couldn't verify that it would meet the operating points of the existing pumps.
Okay.
We just didn't have enough time. There wasn't enough time.
Councilman Swear, I'm gonna call on you next time. You
sorry.
just, yeah, I'm trying to be the traffic cop. Councilwoman Lopez. Yeah.
Mr. Palumbo, I just wanted to ask you this question. I think I know the answer, but since Mayor Pro Tem Doyle pointed out that there is such a price gap, have you done your research on this super cheap bargain deal manufacturer? It's legit.
We did.
And it is legit.
Well, it is legit. They have vendors that I think are probably in your bid package. There are some local
No, I'm just saying, like,
municipalities.
from your knowledge as being our
Well, what we have to do-
specialty engineer for the wastewater department, even though it is a lot cheaper than the other bidder, you believe that this product is just as good? And
Oh, I
just as-
don't, no, I can't say that yet without, that's why we're rejecting that bid. If we could accept that bid, I'd say accept it, but we're rejecting their bids on that pump. We can't verify that the pump that they supplied.
Okay, then I got confused here. Because
Okay.
then I'm confused because I got confused because I thought, I guess Mr. Dahl confused me because I thought I thought we were accepting that they explained that we were accepting two from one company, but they were cheaper.
Well, hang on.
And that's what he
I
was
can-
saying.
I can clear
and
it
so
up
I'm
for you.
saying they are a lot cheaper, but we are
Power-
getting a good quality product even though it is a lot cheaper.
On a different brand of pump.
Correct.
On a different
So
pump.
Power Specialties bidded on several brands of pump.
Correct.
Some we could accept, some we could not.
Correct. Correct. But the ones we are accepting, even though it is a lower rate, you do believe it is a
Absolutely.
quality product.
We have those in our system now. So-
Okay, that's what I wanted to
But
clarify.
it still was a lower rate.
Right. So you didn't confuse me. You did all right.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
All right. You had your hand up? Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the real thing about these particular pumps, with your experience, Mr. Palumbo, what's your major concern about pumps? That they're not overloaded or they can handle the actual capacity through the down curve of the stuff that's being
That-
pumped
yeah,
out? Is that
absolutely.
your main concern about the pumps?
Correct. Some pumps may turn 1,750 RPMs,
Mm-hmm.
and the pump that they submitted might be turning 3,000. Okay,
Right.
so you get more wear and tear on a pump, although it may fit the pump curve and the characteristics or the
Mm-hmm.
operating points that you need it to fit. But we want a more energy efficient pump. So, we can with more time, we can go through all those operating points and parameters and be able to kind of look at that pump and see
And
if it's
have you
going to.
experienced in the past that if you get a pump from something that's not assembled or manufactured in the USA, let's say it's manufactured in, let's say, Mexico or something, then when it arrives here, do you have to find yourself to kind of tweak it, trim the propels down, try to make it fit, or
Well,
is that the case?
I mean, depending on, it's not depending on where the pump's made. We may trim an impeller for the operating characteristics that we
Right.
need the pump to do.
The
So that's not unheard of, no matter where the pump is
Okay.
built. We do have pumps in our system. Some are manufactured overseas now.
Yes, sir.
And they're very, very good pumps.
Okay.
So, we're not ruling it out. We're ruling it out this year just for lack of time and evaluation, but we're going to look at it hard next year.
Any further questions?
Well, I
None?
think we cleared it up on this side.
Oh yeah.
Pump,
Okay.
pump education 101.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Vince. That was informative.
Thank you, Mr.
Please vote your
Palumbo.
machines. All right, great. Madam Clerk.
A resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance of not to exceed $2 million of sales tax revenue bonds of the City of New Iberia, State of Louisiana, provided certain terms of said bonds, making application to the State Bond Commission for the approval of said bonds, employing professionals in connection with said bonds, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman
Second.
Sherry Guidry and a second by Councilwoman Deidre Ledbetter. And this, of course, is the bond for the beginning of the bond for the police department.
Got a question.
Yes, sir. Yeah, come on in. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I am David Medlin. I'm with the financial advisory firm Government Consultants. We have worked with the city in the past, and it's good to be back with y'all. Jason Akers, your bond attorney, had another obligation and asked me to handle this item tonight. This is the first step that you take in borrowing this money, this $2 million for your police equipment. It is making application to the State Bond Commission, where they will tell you that it conforms with the law, and they will also look to see that you have the ability to repay the debt. In this case, with you collecting about $3 million a year and your debt's going to be 200 or something thousand a year, that's not a question. It sets the, we call it the parameter ordinance because it sets the maximum parameters for the sale. In this one, it's not to exceed $2 million. You can't issue less, but not more than that. Not to exceed 10 years, and not to exceed 6%. Don't be alarmed by the 6%. The rate on these bonds should be in the 2%, 2 to 2.5% range. It does employ Foley and Udell, Jason Akers' firm, as bond counsel. It employs our firm as your SEC registered financial advisor. And another provision in it is that if you need to make purchases before you have your bond proceeds, you can reimburse yourself from the bond proceeds. We put that in as a safeguard if you have to do that. Again, this is a preliminary thing. We will come back to you 2 times, one to introduce the real bond ordinance, and then we'll come back to adopt that once we have a lender and we have all the terms to put into that ordinance. And finally, we expect delivery on or about January 30th.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
It just mentioned that the bonds would be for 10 years.
It is a 10-year term maximum, and that is you will probably end up with a 10-year term. Yes.
Okay, and the way it's written, the resolution says not to exceed $2 million, but we could just borrow 1.5 if that's all we need.
It's a
Absolutely.
drawdown.
Drawdown
It's a
thing.
drawdown.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We're not taking it all at once.
And since it could be add $2 million to the debt that we already have with the city, and I know we probably have about 33, 34 million debt, and it'll bring it up a couple million. I know we have to have a balance of funding to really guarantee part of this, not only the tax coming in, but money put aside.
Actually, this is a sales tax revenue bond.
Mhm.
The only thing you're pledging is that half-cent sales tax.
So we don't have to have no fund balance to
No.
fund this.
I tell people often, they like for you to have fund balance, but they don't want to count on that because you could spend it and it not be there next year. So
Right.
they want a recurring source of revenue. You have a very strong sales tax, $3 million, nothing encumbered on it at all. This is about as, besides a general obligation property tax, this is about as strong as you're going to get. You're not going to have a problem.
So when it, we gonna label it as a city police, I mean, it's really not city police because the tax was called for
Well,
city and fire.
Police and fire.
The
And
tax that you levy,
is what it
is limits the
so it-
purposes.
But
But-
it can be police and fire.
whatever's in that
What's on the
particular.
tax card.
But it doesn't limit about how it's spent in those
It
departments.
does not.
Anyway, anyhow, no matter if it's movables or personnel.
No, wrong.
Okay, I'm anxious.
Yeah, we have we're doing a list of actually what it can exactly pay. Right.
Will we have that list before we vote on the bond?
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Not required, that's up to you guys to do that. You're gonna need to budget that at some point.
Yeah.
You will have to budget, but state law basically doesn't let you buy expendables, and recurring items that last a couple of years. They want you to make capital improvements. And the state law tells you what you can spend it on and what you cannot. He's going to give us that list and we will give our opinion on each item.
Yeah, I would like to have that
Sure,
list. 'Cause,
sure.
when we have bonds on street repair, sewer, we know where it's going.
Yep.
And it's just like you borrowing money, personally, you have to have a way you're spending the money. And I would like to have that information.
And I would say that you can take comfort in the fact that you will have to do a budget ordinance amendment to spend that money.
To spend the
It will
money.
come back
Yeah,
to you.
Yeah, it comes back to you at
I
every
just
time.
didn't know the limitations of it.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Councilman Swear? Thank you.
My question is, so the 10-year bond, what is that, you said that was a 2% rate?
Well,
Or
They're
we-
trading,
we- what's
I'd
the
say,
rate?
I'd say you're gonna be in the 2 to 2.5 range,
2.5
which
rate?
is a fantastic rate.
Is that a locked in, or is that a?
That will be a fixed rate
It'll be a fixed
from
rate?
day one on.
Okay, all right, thanks.
cool. Councilwoman Lopez?
Question. Because you just said capital improvements, something in my brain clicked. Well, so, and you said we can borrow from it and pay it right back or whatever. We can do a drawdown, kind of similar to a line of credit, whatever. Well, since the jump start that we need is gonna be to pay, salaries to get it started, like is that not how it's going? Like we're pulling this money and we're hiring
No,
these first
that-
couple people? We're
that-
not, oh no, okay, so we're gonna use disaster money for that.
Yes.
And we're gonna keep it separate. The disaster
Correct.
money is gonna pay for salaries, and
Right.
this money is gonna be to acquire
Our
equipment
cars, our
and
equipment,
necessities, and we'll draw
Correct.
down as it goes.
Correct.
Okay, so
And
just to
We have three
clarify
pots
that.
of money, basically. We have the little bit of money that y'all are allowing us to borrow, then we have the bond money, and then we have the tax money. So it's three separate pots.
Okay,
From everywhere.
Explain
just wanna make sure none of that, that the public
understand.
knows.
Yeah, on an annual basis, you, starting out, should have 3 to 3.5 million in sales tax. You're gonna need about 200,000 and change to pay the debt service. And then you spend it on the balance, which is the vast majority on whatever you budget for.
Correct.
Just wanted to be clear.
No, that's fine. Councilwoman,
Okay, so the disaster fund, we looking at about $500,000, right?
it has a little over 500,000 in it. What we're borrowing is that we did earlier tonight, the first step is 200.
Yes, sir. Okay, then we have the bond, and then we have the tax that we're gonna generate and levy. Now, I have some further questions in a few other sections of, this, particular, resolution, if I may.
Sure.
Okay, in section 3, under employment of bond counsel on page 3, I wanted to ask about, what is the fee, of the bond counsel for each series of bonds, that's fixed and not, exceeding the fee allowed by the Attorney General's fee guidelines for, such bonds, counsel, work. So what is the actual fee for that?
Jason's not here.
And it shouldn't exceed the Attorney General's guidelines, so
Yeah,
what is that
they-
fee?
It's a scale, and it's based on the amount of bonds, so we're gonna look, I don't know the number tonight.
Okay, I
can
just
get
need
you
that
that, but it's
fee.
gonna be 2 million, and he gets paid this amount per the State Bond Commission
Yes, sir.
schedule.
But all that's regulated. I mean,
It
It
is
is
regulated
regulated,
by
yeah.
the Attorney General,
Right.
Yeah.
guidelines, but I just needed to know
Yeah.
what we were paying them as a city,
gotcha.
Yeah.
okay?
They regulate that.
And when can we have that answer, Mr. Mayor Freddie, or,
I guess we
From
can
this
have it
gentleman.
for the next meeting,
Easily.
easily. I mean, we gotta take action
I
again at
will-
the next meeting,
How
so.
about I email that to you tomorrow?
That'd be even better.
that sounds good?
There you go. And
Okay.
then you can send it to all the council. if you
Oh,
want. Great,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, under
Now, everybody
section,
has it.
under section 4, under the municipal employment, let's see what I want to ask you about that. Oh, I think we got that already. Okay, let me keep rolling. Yep, I'm good.
Good. Good questions. Anybody else? Great. Thank you, David. Please vote your machines. All right, thank you all very much. Madam Clerk, item number 8.
Recommendations from planning and zoning. A recommendation for preliminary re-subdivision approval to divide property located at 1700 East Main Street into tracts 1 through 4.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Sherry Guidry and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Dan Dahl. Do we have any discussion on this item?
I do.
Roll.
Jane, can Jane? come
You
up?
sure can. Thank you, Jane.
She comes with a smile.
Jane, I got a couple of questions. I just noticed it's on the borderline of my property.
Okay.
I didn't notice that. That, the way it's subdivided to track 1 and track 2, what I understand, that's all one track right now, correct? So you're subdividing it from track 2 is gonna be separate from track 1 now?
Yes,
That's where that solid line is?
yeah, and if you notice at the bottom, there are also 2 additional
Yeah.
tracks identified as tracks, but they're really not lots because they don't meet the minimum lot size requirements. So those are proposed to be sold to the adjoining property owner. So,
But I'm
actually,
talking,
track
oh yeah, I go all
4,
the way across the street.
track 4
Okay.
will become part of track 2, and track
I just-
3 is actually going into Glazing Incorporated, they're buying.
So the
That's right.
zoning is not changing?
Zoning is not changing.
Okay, and the question of, I know we have ordinances and setbacks and that on commercial property, just like we do.
Yes.
And it looks like the back of that property is pretty minimum where the buildings or the property line is. So are we have to change a variance for him?
No.
'cause it has enough room
Yes,
for that?
yes.
Okay,
According to the zone that it's in,
Yes.
there are no setback requirements for
setback, okay.
commercial, yes.
And so-
It's existing.
just for, I guess, my information, do you know if they selling that track too to somebody? Yeah.
That I don't know, but I think so.
Okay.
I think there's a sale pending.
Okay.
And why they're not coming for final subdivision approval tonight is because they still have to meet some of the requirements for final. And if you notice in copies of the resolution and the letter, I mean, I specify those. David Moore is the engineer, and so he assures me that all of these items will be met by your next council meeting. So if I get the final plat with all of these items met and their request for final subdivision approval, it'll be back before you in 2 weeks.
So the owner of the property did go to y'all hearing, y'all,
No, David Moore was.
representative?
Yes,
okay. Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Councilwoman Lopez.
Just wanna know what district is this?
Mine.
Okay, that's what I thought, but she made the motion and Dan was saying it was by his house and he lives
No,
in
it's not by my
6.
house, it's by my.
By your property.
Property.
Alright, so,
I don't
I wasn't
know.
supposed to
Okay.
make the motion?
no, but normally normally whoever makes the motion, 9 out of 10 is like the district, so that's how I remember I had asked, no, don't be sorry, you didn't do anything wrong. I had asked at the beginning of the year, you remember, if when we have items like this, and also with Jimmy's stuff, if it could say the district on the agenda. That way we know, that way like I
Okay.
know I can call
All right, we
Mr.
did
Ledbetter and be
talk
like,
about
hey,
that.
I can call Mr. Ledbetter and be like, hey, we have this 8B, are you cool with this? You know, I know my district, but I don't know all of y'all's, you know. I've tried, but
All right.
that's just it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank anybody else? No? All right, please vote your machines. Cool, thank you. Madam Clerk?
A recommendation
8B.
of approval for a
should stay right
parking
there.
variance of 89 parking spaces from the required 559 to 470 spaces for the proposed redevelopment of the former Kmart site at 900 East Atmore Boulevard.
All right, we got some activity. I need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by
How y'all
Councilwoman
want me to know
Sherry
whose
Gidley.
district? That's 3 people.
Dave.
And a second
David.
by
David's district.
Can't tell how
Y'all
excited.
now y'all
David
playing
Broussard.
this.
Look
All
how
right.
excited he is.
And it is Councilmember Broussard's district.
All right, thank you.
All right, tell us about it, Jane.
Okay, as you all know, Kmart is redeveloping their site,
Yep.
right? And so we do have Mr. Gary LaBeouf here representing Duplantis Engineering, who represents the owners of the property. And what's before you tonight is a request for a variance, a parking space variance. There were 559 parking spaces required, but Mr. LaBeouf and his firm did a study of the required parking necessary for the spaces that are going to be occupied, which we can't share the names with you tonight, but soon. What they're asking for is 470 parking spaces, which would be in compliance with the the prospective tenants that are going to be located in these sites. So the request is for a parking space variance of 89 spaces. And the Planning Commission unanimously recommended the variance.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Dahl.
Jane, but it looks like they're doing an addition to that space also?
They're using the existing, and Mr. LaBeouf could probably tell you better than I
The
about
garden
it,
center,
but
they
they're
make it
using
a-
the existing building. And,
But it's right down the backdrop.
do you have questions of him?
No, I just,
Okay.
it's a new structure gonna be on that space also, connected to Kmart.
Well, they're using the existing,
But I thought that's where the garden center was.
and just, yes.
Yeah. In that
Yes.
footprint.
In that footprint.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
It's within the footprint of the
That's great.
building.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Swift.
So, the reason for the reduction in these spaces is to accommodate that like you, with Mr. Dahl was talking about, is to accommodate the, I guess you would say it's not an addition, but the revamping of that side.
Well, there'll
Or
be
is it
different
because-
tenants in the
It's a different
location.
use.
And so the parking spaces vary by building use. And it's just, now there is more consideration for shared parking than there used to be when parking was required for the original Kmart site. So depending on the tenants surrounding, some may be open at night, some may not, some may be open on weekends, some may not. So we just try to share parking rather than just overburden a site with more parking spaces and cement or blacktop than is necessary. It makes sense.
How would this affect the, I guess maybe in the future, the expansion of Blue Street? How would this by any chance?
They're aware of it, and they're in touch with the parish, and they are working in conjunction with that project.
Cool.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
It's sure nice to know who's coming in there.
Soon.
Yeah, I know. Well, look, this shows you somebody's coming, so that's great. We taking one step at a time. Any further discussion? Please vote your machines. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Ms. Jane.
All right. Madam Clerk,
Did
item
9
9. Well, we did 9 already, but under the police issue, Councilwoman Sherry Guidry, you have a motion to expand the agenda on an issue? Okay, what you got?
Yes, I'd like a motion to expand the agenda to discuss the new P3 Crime Stoppers information.
Okay, to expand the agenda, it requires a unanimous
Unanimous vote.
vote of the council.
Yes.
So I need a motion.
She made her motion.
She made the motion. Okay, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councilwoman Lopez, and please vote your machines to expand the agenda for our discussion. Good, thank y'all. All right, Councilwoman Guidry.
Okay, let's just say that I get a lot of calls, and I don't understand why people think that I have law enforcement experience. I'm a police officer, I could do something about crime and all this other stuff. But the bottom line is I constantly refer them to either 911 or the actual crime stoppers that has been recently established. Now, there's a new thing now that our residents can use called P3 app, and you could easily use your cell phone. Everybody has a cell phone. So no matter where you are and you see something's happening and you want to report it, you can report it. This is just another great tool that our citizens can use no matter where they are to report crime. I verified this information with one of the executive boards of Crime Stoppers and also Sergeant Guidry as well. And basically, if you have an iPhone, then you do the I app or whatever. If you have an Android like mine, then you go to the Google Play Store, download the tool. And then from there, when you download the tool, you just create a quick, a minimum of 4-digit numbers. You confirm it, and to verify it, and then that's how you just log in your app. And what happens is the next quick step is that you're going to be asked. There you go. There you go.
I
There you
googled
go.
it. It's called P3 Tips
There
by
you go.
Anderson Software LLC.
There you go.
It's a
I
blue
was-
icon.
There you go. And if you have a computer, let's say you don't want to do the phone and whatever, you can, in the privacy of your home, you can actually go to your computer, Google P3 app, and it's going to come up, and then you download it, and then you follow the same prompts. The bottom line, I think this is another basic tool for our citizens to encourage and to equip our citizens on reporting crime anonymously, besides dialing 364 tips line or the 911 if you're not comfortable with that. There's still a lot of residents that call and complain to me. I don't know why, but you know, the 911 dispatchers, they're doing their jobs as they are trained, but you know, they ask a lot of questions in a lot of quick situations, such as shooting in the air or whatever. So I think this is another great tool that can be used to help the police department. And when we get our new Iberia Police Department is formed, we're going to be intertwined and interconnected with this particular app as well. Now, depending on the time that you report it and things like that, it's going to go directly to Sergeant Guidry. But if it's after hours, then it will be rerouted to the National USA Center, and then rerouted back to New Iberia to the proper department. And like I said, this is just another tool that I want to put out there for those that, you know, say Crime Stoppers don't work, or they can't do Crime Stoppers because they're afraid to call. This would be another great tool, because everybody got a phone and everybody likes to play on their cell phone. So you can use the P3 app. I suggest that everyone download it, and because you never know what's going on, and that's a quick way to report it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Thanks for doing that. All right, now we have councilman remarks. I'm going to start on this side. Councilman Swear.
I only got one comment. We have the Kiwanis Pancake Supper, which is coming up. It's going to be the third Thursday of November, November 16th.
November 16th.
Yeah, so I believe they start the drive-through, begins at about 4:30 for pickup. Not real sure, and then it lasts about 8. So I'll confirm that next, well, actually the next meeting. But it's going to be held at the Sear Gates Community Center. It's a great event. It's a huge event. It's the biggest fundraiser for Kiwanis, and Kiwanis does a lot for kids in the community. So please, I'd like for anyone to come out and buy tickets. I do have tickets if anyone's interested to buy some. I have tickets for sale, but you can go to any local banks. I believe Community First Bank has some set up there. So I just wanted to spread the word about Kiwanis Pancake Supper. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Swear. My turn?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Just have a couple of remarks really quick. I've been in contact with the director of Iberia Homeless Shelter, and under the direction of Mr. Stephen Acham, and they are doing a raffle, which I'm excited about because I'm a football fan. Okay, we stumped the floor in at our house for football, so the shelter is doing a raffle, and it's called the LSU Getaway Package, and you get, for $10, you get 2 tickets near the 50-yard line, and also an overnight stay at the Bell Casino in Baton Rouge, a $100 gift card, and also the drawing is going to be held Friday, November the 9th, announced on KANE radio at 11 o'clock. So I think this would really benefit that shelter. We need to do as much as possible to try to help Iberia shelter. If you want a ticket, I think Councilman Marlon Lewis has some tickets. Is that correct, Mr. Lewis? Or you can go to Community Bank and get some tickets. Again, it's $10, or you can go to Iberia Homeless Shelter and purchase one. The next thing I wanted to announce, which I am excited to announce because it's finally my church, and I get to announce something for my church. So it's an invitation for a conference, and I'm gonna make it really short. It's gonna be held on November the 11th and November the 11th and November the 12th. This is under the direction of Bishop Drew Roos and Senior Pastor Wanda Roos. I encourage everyone to come out. One of the guest speakers, you all probably know him if you need a good belly wrenching laugh and get the word at the same time, is Jesse Duplantis. His wife is also going to be there, Reverend Kathy Duplantis, and also there's other great awesome speakers to be on the platform for both of those days. Again, I encourage you to come out and enjoy yourself and get and receive some glorious peace at Faith Cathedral, located on Highway 14. Let's see what else I got for my community. I think that's all my remarks, Council.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Great.
Okay, the Iberia Mental Health Initiative will present a program entitled Seasons Grievings on Thursday, November the 9th at 6:00 p.m. at the main library on Main Street. Representatives from Hospice of Acadiana will speak about the many sources of stress during the holiday season, strategies for coping with them, and how to rediscover the joy of this special time of year. The program is free to the public and everybody is welcome. Also on Thursday, November the 16th, we have Neighborhood Watch for Districts 4 and District 5, 6:00 p.m. at the Slyman Theater. Anybody is also welcome to attend. We'll be doing, the speaker will talk about holiday safety, and then we're gonna have a nice Thanksgiving repast afterwards. So come on out to the Slyman on the 16th at 6:00.
So, Miss Deidre, is your husband still cooking the turkey?
Yes, he's still cooking the turkey.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
On Main Street and St. Peter Street, the striping they're doing is from the state, not from us.
We did not
If you
pay
do
for
not
those
under-
bicycle
If you do not,
marks.
huh?
If one more person asked me if we
Well,
paid for this
the
bicycle.
the striping is kind of different than what we used to. They have the yellow striping, they got the white striping, they got the wide striping, they got the skinny striping. The city did not do it. It's not our responsibility.
We didn't pay for it.
If you do not understand the striping, I guess you can go online and check with the state. I don't know what to tell y'all, and I caught myself driving through a parking side of it. I don't know. So maybe we could get the state to explain what the stripings mean. Since they redid the road, maybe some rules changed. But we did not do it. I just wanted to let, if somebody else asked me about it, I really don't know what I'm going to do. But we did not do it. It was just some mandates that the state, I guess, changed. I don't know. But that's it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Where's our?
I got enough breath there. Miss Heather. Miss Heather, thank you. We had a big pile of mulch, Armitage Park. It is a showcase. You helped us. I got my voice back.
What?
Yes,
Maybe you
sir.
should talk more, Mr. Bruce.
Mr. Decoy, thank you for giving us, whether you give us permission or not, we trimmed the trees. And we did it, and I want to compliment the parish. Mr. Gosherson, young, Eagle Beaver. He's doing a lot of this to get things done in that park. It's a good communication with two parties.
Good.
We'll be doing some more. Okay. Veterans Day. It's coming up either Friday or this weekend. I want to thank all the veterans. I have one that, Paul Camacho Jr. died, 20 years in the National Guard. You know, other ones that have paid their dues. Please give them respect this weekend. Mr. Decourt, we lost. Dulles-Howe Drive, recycling. They have some streets. I mean, we doing real good other places. But God, they don't. They got, we having some griping about recycling lately.
We've had a
Man, I
meeting.
got 10, 15 calls
I know.
on that.
We had 100 and something calls in
I
2
got
months.
some too.
We had a meeting with Republic. They're making some changes, but I appreciate it. But believe me, my phone rings a lot. And we're dealing with that. We had a meeting, and they are regrouping and addressing our issues. But I appreciate
The state find the Iberia Street and maybe Julia pertaining to Almodal. I see they changing some drains. The state is coming in, so they might give us some relief to all the griping we've been doing about flooding.
Okay.
Just where we're trying to get flooding done. So I'm glad to see the state working on their roads and drains. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Glad I had, without an attack, I can get my voice up.
That's it.
All right, next Tuesday, let me make sure,
Oh.
because I messed this up. But this is concerning the levy tax. No, that's
This
gonna be
is the 18th.
Wednesday, November the 15th at 6 p.m. Western Park. We're going to have a town hall meeting concerning the levy tax. Mr. Ray Freeman and Troy Como. Ray Freeman is from the Iberia Parish Levy District. He's going to take all questions. He's going to give a presentation on the levy. Also, Troy Como from Acadiana Flood Protection Coalition. Those guys will be there along with myself talking about the levy. I'm going to moderate it. They're going to do their presentation, I am just trying to provide a platform for them to talk about that levy. People in the West End haven't really had the information or opportunity to get the information. So I'm providing that platform as a service to my community. I want to keep people in the West End informed. Bring your questions, bring your concerns, bring your comments. Another quick PSA, trash pickup. Getting some calls about trash pickup, and Gardens picks up on the West End twice a month. And every now and then when they have 5 Mondays in a month, you'll get 2 weeks without getting picked up. So y'all know my number. Most of the people know my number. If not, it's 337-577-3448. I'll make a call if they didn't pick it up, and we're just gonna try to keep our community clean.
Thank you. No?
Hey. We have a neighborhood watch meeting for Katie Makers this Thursday, November 9th at 5:30 at Jasper Elementary. Second thing I'd like to talk about is charity, giving back, because it is, the season to give. I know, a lot of people like to give, to children and St. Jude's and all those other things, but we do have some things close to home. I would like to encourage anyone who is cleaning out their house for the holidays to please think about Shea Hope, our women's shelter. You can contact me. They are very discreet as to where the location is, but I'd be more than happy to assist in drop-offs there. Also, St. Francis Diner, they're always in need of donations for food, volunteers, money, whatever. I think that's really important for us to try to help them out as much as we can, especially around the holidays, because everybody, kind of needs a little holiday experience. And last but not least, please, everyone, remember to go out and vote on November 18th. I don't know, there's a lot going on with this levy tax around town. I've never seen so many different signs about a tax, ever, down to homemade ones I've seen. I don't know where they are, but I've seen some homemade signs. But regardless, please go out and vote November 18th. This is a 50-year property tax. So if you know anything about it, know that it affects you for 50 years. And if something was going to affect me for 50 years, I would go out and make a decision on it. So please educate yourselves and get out there on November 18th and show this parish that we know how to go to the polls. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I have a couple of announcements. I have to announce these as a public hearing, which will be held in the Budget Amendment Ordinance on Tuesday, November 21st at 5:30 here at City Hall. There's also a public hearing that will be held on levying the half-cent sales tax on Tuesday, November 21st at 5:30 here at City Hall. So I needed to make those two announcements. We still have adjudicated properties for sale on civicsource.com, and our next council meeting is November the 21st Need a motion to adjourn.
And
Motion
City Hall's
to
gonna be closed
adjourn.
Friday.
And City Hall is closed Friday. You're right.
Motion to adjourn.
Great.
Second.
Holidays. Great.
Governor just
Motion to
declared
second.
the Friday.